You can make slightly more exciting pages than this, but not too much more exciting. That's kind of the beauty of Notion. It's very simple and easy and flexible. They call themselves the all-in-one workspace. And I think that that's because they seem to be really tailored towards project management and kind of habit tracking, kind of like keeping notes in places, or at least that's what a lot of their templates kind of look like. I'll show you what some of those templates look like, but you can also create your own pages, and you can create your own templates as well if you're going to be creating kind of the same looking page over and over again. And then once you create a page, it's really easy to add to it. All you do is type these forward slashes, and then you get all of these options to add to your page. And I'll walk you through all of those options in a moment. But before I do that, just want to talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of Notion. So like I said, it's very easy to use. It's very clean and simple looking. That could be a con because it's not, very visually exciting. But if you want to focus on the content, then it's a good place, especially if you're just getting started. If you have to, at least for me, if I have to balance both the trying to come up with a really good story and then also making it look really beautiful at the same time, it can kind of be very overwhelming. So I think it's a great place to just, get started on working on the story, and you can always make it look more beautiful or move it to a more exciting platform later. Also, it's free. You can pay for a shared account. So a lot of people use it for project management, like I said. And in that case, you would have to pay for that type of account. But just to create your own pages that are not shared with anyone, that's free. Cons, like I said, it's not visually exciting. It's very simple looking. You have very few options. I'll show you what those kind of options are, but that's also the beauty of it. I think my personal biggest con for Notion is that you can't easily link it to your personal domain. So you can see up here this very long address. That's what all of the addresses are, and you can't pay for an upgraded, nicer looking, NaomiEnzinna.com that is Notion. But what I did to get around that was I set up my page so that it forwards to my Notion. So if I type in NaomiEnzinna.com, you can see it gets sent to my Notion page. So that's actually the Notion link. But, you can kind of get around it that way. It's a little clunky, but I can put NaomiEnzinna.com on my resume and it gets them to my Notion page. So who should use Notion? Definitely anyone who's hesitant about getting started on a portfolio or has a project that they're, playing around with, maybe adding to their portfolio, but they're just not ready yet. This is a great place to just dump all of your ideas, dump all of your early content. I'm a big proponent of getting started early in a project on tracking things because you kind of forget your reasoning along the way and you lose your documents. I mean, my folders, I'm very well intentioned about keeping things organized, but you can't find it later and, everything's like new file, new file, new file. So, it's a great place to just start tracking things, and you can either make it shareable or not. So up here with this share button, if you click on it, I gotta move you guys over here. If you click on it, you can click this button to, share it or not. I have put early drafts out there before, but sorry, it's still there. I have put early drafts out before they've been ready, but I've also hidden them. You could do it either. It's also really good for UX researchers. So I think there's less pressure for things to be very visually beautiful if you're a UX researcher. It's more about the story. So that's how it got recommended to me to use. I'm not entirely sure how it fits for a UX designer. You could ask the people at the interview event next week whether they think it's good for that. I think that, it probably depends. If you're a visual designer or someone who's advertising that you do HTML, this might not be the platform for you ultimately, but I think you could still get started here. So with that said, I'll show you what it looks like to create a page in Notion. So when you have Notion, you'll have this sidebar on the side, And that will show all of your pages that already exist, where you can add a page and where you can look at templates. Here you can see all of my different pages that I have. This is my portfolio currently. This is an earlier draft that has way too much content in it, but I get to keep track of it later. So it has all the answers to things that, like, I don't know, I've hidden away over time. I've got some well-intentioned goals that I set for myself that I never came back to. This page was a website that we used for a Hexagon event, and then I'm using it for this. So, you know, you can use it for lots of things. It's a fun platform for all sorts of stuff. These are some of the templates that they have. So you can see that, like, these are some of the like categories. You can browse some more of their templates, but definitely good for personal things. You can create a personal homepage. They've got some, you know, reading lists, habit trackers. You can see that there's a design section. So you can see that they've got this kind of like roadmap thing. It kind of looks like Trello going on. This is one that's more collaborative. There's a user research database. That's here. There's design tasks and so on. So you can check out their templates. There's not really anything that's really good for creating a portfolio, but it's a good place to go to like get ideas and see what you can do and then adapt it for yourself. If you wanted to create your own page, you would click on this and it would take you to this page. And this is what the page would look like. So let me close this so you get a better idea. So the page would look like this. You would have the option to start with a template, start with an empty page, or start with an icon at the top. So I like to start with these icons that they have. They're kind of cute, but it's maybe not for everybody. You can change them. So, you know, maybe it's for your portfolio. Maybe you want to use an icon that suits the theme. Then you can add a cover if you want it to. This is like the limits of the amount of design you can do with it. So that's why I'm trying to be excited about it here. Trying to move you guys around. Here, I'm going to move you to my other screen. Okay, so here you can change the cover. You can change it to a solid color. They've got some different visualizations. You can upload your own if you're a creative like that, or you can use their Unsplash thing that has all sorts of stuff. You can search for UX and they've got some like different types of design photos in here. So you can add a banner at the top. Here you add your title to your page. And then once you do that, you'll get the start of a breadcrumb. Once you add extra pages in here, then when you're in those pages, it'll add up at the top, you know, a line for that. And then this is about it. The other things that you can do for style on this page is you can change the font. You've got 3 options. You've got this default one, serif and mono, which is great for me because I would spend, you know, an hour looking at just small variations in fonts to ultimately decide on the most boring choice. So it's already chosen for me. It's great. There's some, you can change the text to be slightly smaller and you can go with a full width page. So that's it for the style of it. Now I'll show you like what types of things you can add to the page. So if you want to just type text, you just start typing. If you want to add headings, they've got 3 different sizes. So you can, this is heading 1. This is heading 2. And this is heading 3. You can change the colors of those by highlighting it and then looking at these different options here. And then other things you can do is you can add pages inside of the page. You can add a to-do list. You can add all sorts of bulleted lists, numbered lists, toggled lists. So bullets, you can you know, do a little bit of indenting. You can add a quote. I kind of like, I've used this in one place to put a quote from a client that was happy. So you can be like, you know, awesome work, your client. You can use this for a call out. These are kind of cool. I've used this for like note, this is a work in progress. And you can change the icon on this as well. So maybe you want to, I don't know, pose a question to someone or something. I don't know. That's another option that you have. There's some dividers to separate sections. And then you can add an emoji. Then there's all of these different options for databases, which I didn't use for my portfolio, but maybe you can find a way to use that. It didn't really fit my purposes, but maybe you guys will find a way to use that. Things that are probably more useful are like images, of course. You can add your own images or embed from a link or use their photos that they have. I will show you what that looks like. So this, wow, that's a large photo. I was not expecting that. Okay, but you can resize it, don't worry, by grabbing these little sides, and it's very easy to do that. And you can move it around. So you can create multiple columns to make this slightly more exciting looking. Like that, you can move this. You just grab this thing on the side and move it to the side till you see the blue line pop up. And so, you know, you can add some more items that way. You can add a web bookmark, a video. I used the video to embed something where I was talking through one of my designs. You can add a file. You can embed PDFs and tweets. And probably more exciting is you can embed directly from Figma or InVision. I'm not sure what abstract is. You can embed from Framer. You can put a Miro board in here. We use that a lot in Hexagon. And then PDFs again, and then table of contents. And then that's kind of it. You know, you just have these kind of options. You can move them around pretty easily. It's easy to delete stuff if you change your mind. And as you're uploading things, or as you're updating things, it kind of updates immediately. So if you were like looking at my webpage and I was adding stuff, then like a couple seconds later, it would be the new version of my webpage. So I don't know, it's very easy to keep your stuff up to date. So that's what it looks like to create a page. Going back to the talk here. I'll talk to you a little bit about just a couple of tips and resources that are available to you. So Hexagon has done a lot of different talks on creating a portfolio. So if you're not sure about where to get started or what to include, I would definitely check out these different talks that they've given, and there's extra resources towards the end. This is what it looks like to embed a file, so just so you can see what it looks like, and also what you've got here. So there's like a bunch of different slides you can go through to learn more about creating a portfolio. Another thing that you can do is, you know, look at different portfolios for inspiration. So when I was starting out, that's what I did. I didn't know what went into a portfolio at all. So I just looked at a bunch of different portfolios and tried to, figure out what sections there were, what type of content goes into it. Try to figure out, what would fit the types of projects that I was working on, and then adapted it for my needs. These are examples that I got from a mentor that I had. So these are kind of her reasons for why they were good portfolios. Some things that really stood out to me and that I had incorporated into my own portfolio was a what I learned section. So she said that this was really good for a junior designer or researcher because it's something that hiring managers will be looking for. They want to know that you can grow from your experience. So that might be a section that you want to include if you're more junior, or if you're more senior. I mean, we're always learning. And then this is an example of a more experienced designer. Again, I'm not clicking into these just for the sake of time, but I will share this link so that you guys can check it out if you want. This one was pointed out to be a good example because the person used these sentences as headings instead of just like problem and design and research. It was kind of a sentence that summarized what was happening in that section. So if someone was skimming, they could, easily see what the story was. And then here's some more examples, and all of the reasoning here is good, so you can check that out. Get feedback early and often. So definitely apply to Hexagon's mentorship program. That was definitely the best thing that I did for my portfolio. The first time I applied, I barely had a portfolio. The second time I applied, I had a not too great portfolio in Notion, and I got a lot of feedback from my mentor that I would never have thought of. So I would definitely apply to that. And then you can also use the Slack channels in Hexagon to get feedback as well. Some of the biggest takeaways that I got from the mentorship for personally my portfolio was that I needed to consider my readers more. So, do some UX on my portfolio. I had heard that you wanted to include enough detail so that people could see that you understood what your process was and could articulate it clearly and back it up with things that happened. So I did that, and as an academic, going into it, I included way too much detail. It was I wrote an essay for people, and so I was told you have to think people are reading this that are also looking at a bunch of different portfolios, they're looking at 100 different portfolios, and so the person who's taken the first pass of your portfolio is going to look at it pretty quickly. So you want them to be able to skim it and get a good idea of what's going on. So that's where those headers come in. And I'll show you how I put them into my portfolio. And then but you still want to include that level of detail, but you want it to be done concisely. So, scale it back. And then, because Notion makes it really easy to create new pages and things, you can always tuck things into other pages so people can, find it if they want to see it, but not maybe keep it on your main page. So I'll show you what this looks like in my portfolio. It's loading. So this is my portfolio. It's, I probably should change this banner. It's not super exciting, but it's, it works for me. I've got my name, my sentence about myself here at the top, and then I've got my UX projects here and my, various links about myself. You can go into, so this is one example. This one is kind of a pure research project, and it was also under an NDA, so I couldn't really include visualizations or specific details. So I got around it in a couple different ways. One was, adding visualizations that I created to kind of summarize what was going on, but also, just telling the story, using words, but not too many. So I was using these highlighted sentences was one way that I was able to kind of tell the story. And then some other things that I included in here, you can see is the quotes option from Notion. So that was something from the client. And then I've also got a reflection section here. And then this one's more of a design one. This was from an online course that I had taken. So you'll see some of my designs. I'm not a UX designer, but I had to design for the course. So see some of my designs here. I've got this bulleted thing. So this is me kind of saying hey, this is for a course, just a note. I've got my sentences that are summarizing, kind of coming into a section, what's the problem that I'm trying to solve, and at the end of each section saying what it is that I found by the end of this kind of phase of the project. Also, one thing that I really like about Notion is these little toggle bullets that they have. So if you're trying to cut back some detail, but it's really important, you still want to leave it in, you can use these toggles to just kind of tuck stuff away. I did that kind of for the competitive analysis that I did. So here is it wasn't super exciting. I still wanted to show that I did it, but I just tucked it away. So if people really wanted to see it, they could, but it didn't have to take up prime real estate. And I can scroll through this kind of so you can see a little bit of what it looks like when you get some images in here. So some different drafts. Down here, I think there's also, I think that's a video. Yeah, we've got a video in here. So, I mean, you can still do quite a lot, even though Notion is, somewhat limited. And that's it for my talk, I guess, on creating a portfolio in Notion. One last thing, Meredith pointed out that there was this talk coming up that she saw on, I think that this was Instagram. So I think it's a live stream on Instagram, which is Key Setups for Designers by Notion HQ. So you can follow them if you're interested in seeing kind of other things that you can do as a designer. That's it. Does anyone have any questions?
I was curious if you began your draft immediately in Notion, or if you kind of thought through the sections you wanted on your pages before you jumped in.
I thought it out beforehand, but they changed a lot too. I mean, I'm a planner, so a lot of times I have to write stuff down by hand first. So there's a lot of like, usually when I'm creating a portfolio piece, I'll start out by listing all of the different things that I did along the way, and then trying to figure out what those sections will look like, and then also dividing up how long I think it will take me to complete it, and kind of like create a little like schedule, and then I come into Notion and just kind of fill it out little by little. Yeah, I usually will write it down by hand, and then I'll come in and see what I can do with it in Notion. Oh, let me share this link to you guys. Oh.
Naomi, I had a question for you. I was just wondering if you have gotten any feedback, like about whether that's from your mentor or anybody else, just like about putting it into Notion, or if that was like something that was like they had never heard of, or like what feedback you've gotten from others about putting your portfolio, or people don't even notice, like it's just another website to them. I was just curious.
I had so I originally heard about it through Career Foundry. There was like a career advice counselor person who, when I said I was a UX researcher and wanted to apply for a UX research job, recommended it to me. Once I was in Houston, and then talking to some of the mentors through the Hexagon mentorship, I don't think that people had seen anything done in Notion before, but like one person, when they saw it for the first time, was like, "Oh, this looks like a researcher's portfolio." So that was good. I don't know if that was maybe just because I had a lot of text on it or what. And then when I was talking to my researcher mentor, she said that she thought the platform, she asked someone else higher than her what they thought, and they thought that it was fine for my purposes. As far as for a designer, I don't know. I think we'll have to ask somebody else probably.
I'm still really impressed though. I've opened it like twice and it felt too different than things I had done before. So I was like, ooh, I don't know, but you made it seem really simple, and I'm super kind of excited to think of something that I can try this with.
I can show you guys some of the like more fun, like, I don't know, maybe for a Hexagon event, like we used this for the Hexagon events, and this was just kind of like the schedule and the activities that we were doing. That was kind of fun. I was on another project with someone actually on a paid account. And that one was kind of, let's see if I can get to it. I don't know if it'll make much sense, but this was kind of more for ourselves. It wasn't shared out, so it wasn't super pretty, but we used a lot of these kind of like database things, which was kind of cool. They have like these database, like you can, when you go into these pages, they are separate pages, then you can kind of like, I think we have a vocabulary page. Never mind. I don't know how to explain this. That's why I was kind of avoiding getting into the databases, but I haven't gotten the hang of the databases yet.
So I actually found a template for planning your New Year resolution on Notion. And it looks very similar to what you're sharing. And the database setting of the project management tracking system feels a little bit like Excel spreadsheet. So if you understand how to create those codes, I feel like Notion will be a great platform to also utilize.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into more habit tracking on Notion. Like it's hard to let go of the paper tracking of things, but it'd be less waste, and I could look at my progress over time better, probably.
Yeah.
I'm curious to try the calendar integration too. I saw that that was an option, but I'm not sure if that just means linking a Google Calendar to something else. I mean, into this, embedding it, or like Calendly, that kind of thing.
I think that might be like a calendar within Notion, but
Yeah.
I know it does notify you, but it does notify you once. I've only used it a little bit though.
Okay. Huh.
I think the calendar functions almost like the table. So you could create events that opens up into an individual page too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I know Christina had asked the question about like responsive, and I was kind of just playing with that a little bit. And it looks like it's like generally responsive. I wonder if on certain things though, like it looks like sometimes it makes the column super, super small. So I wonder if like there is a way to do some like finessing of media size.
Yeah, sometimes it does get kind of like you can't adjust it maybe quite the way you want it to. Like sometimes when I had the 4 columns on my images, it was like kind of a hassle to get them actually lined up correctly. Like they would like with just the slightest movement, they would end up like the next size, and it was completely different. Where are they? This thing, like to get them to kind of look like the same size was a hassle. Also, if you do end up using these columns, you want to check what it looks like on your phone, because sometimes it's like all over the place. So
Yeah, can you like break the column to go to the next line, I guess? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
what do you mean?
With natural wrapping.
Yeah.
Chronological order.
I mean, oh no, what have I done?
I was like, don't ruin your portfolio, please.
Oh, well, I'll come back to that. I don't think I can actually add anything extra to this. I think I have like too many columns, but if I move this, oh my gosh. Okay.
Is there a Control Z?
And then you can like use text and grab that and move that to the side. And then you can move this closer. Is this what you're asking about?
Well, I guess I was wondering, like, so when you have columns like that, oftentimes when you're building something that's responsive, you build in code that like drops, like once it's small enough, then like 2 of them will move underneath it, like wrapping to the next line. And I was just curious if that works on here or not.
I don't think there's any options for adding code.
Okay.
So I like when I was trying to get these things to be the same size and look good also on a phone, I would a lot of times be like, I would see it and it would be like a reasonable looking size for like three of them, and then one of them would be a different size, so I'd have to try to rearrange them just slightly and then check it again, and it would kind of reset. So that's a little hacky. Actually, I think that something that you could do instead might like, instead of doing something like this, like just create one big image and use that across it. If you really want it to be even and not look strange.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's fair.
Any other implementation questions for Naomi? As I gather links really quickly and buy myself some time, please ask more questions.
I'm curious to know more about what's going to happen at the event that's going up next week.
All right. Yes. So next Thursday at 7 o'clock, so just 30 minutes later than we started tonight, don't get confused, we will have several of our mentors, our senior mentors, returning mentors from our program, and some other hiring managers from the Houston area tell us about their best practices for UX interviews. So tips on what to do, what not to do, and how they conduct their interviews so that you can get an idea of how different companies operate, what their interview approach is. So the first probably half of that event will be that panel, and then the second half will break into smaller groups and let you practice interviewing with them. So probably 10 or 15-minute rotations and groups of 4, I think. So if you feel uncomfortable participating in answering the questions, you can observe someone else and learn from their experience as well. But they're all wonderful and nice and friendly and won't bite, and we're virtual anyway, so it's fine. So be brave and get practice, hands-on experience answering UX interview questions. So that is already up on Meetups. You can RSVP now, and that's all. You don't have to have anything prepared, just come and be ready to learn. So I think we're good then. I'm going to again share the link that Naomi shared. We have a post-event survey for you as well. We want to make sure that as we go into 2021, we are delivering the best possible event experience for you. So let us know what you think. Naomi's already got that. So here is the survey. And then one more time, the link to actually sign up for an event like this in upcoming months. We do have a SkillFlex already on the calendar for March. Thank you, Naomi. And we can put that in the chat as well. We do have one on the calendar for March. So if you've ever been asked to be a UX writer, even if you don't have UX writing experience, Jamie from HCCS is going to give us a teaser on best practices for UX writing in a pinch. So come ready for that. But February is still open. I know that's not a ton of time to prepare a presentation, so no pressure. But if anybody is ready and raring to go, February is open, and April onward is open. So we would really love to encourage you to share your expertise with the community. So hopefully we will see you next Thursday, and be sure to join us on Slack if you haven't already. And Lee is asking me if there is a link to see past events, and we do have a YouTube channel I should have had that link ready as well. I will, if you hang around here, I will get that for you. And if you can't hang around, I will put it on Slack. So don't worry about that. We'll get it over to you. And this was recorded, which I should have mentioned before we started recording, but it is recorded and will be on our YouTube channel for reference as well later. So thank you so much, Naomi, for being brave and letting us do that. So.
Hope it was helpful. If anyone has any questions about Notion, feel free to reach out on Slack.
Awesome. All right, well, Happy New Year, guys. I know it's already been interesting, so just hang in there. 2021's got to get better.
All right, have a good night.
All right, thank
Hi,
you.
everyone. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.